Have you ever wondered why you start babbling in front of people? The other person says something bad about you, and you become uncontrolled. You cry and burn inside, but there's no one to put water on it. If you think that people and your parents care about you, then you can skip this video here. Before I go into the dark side of this video, let me tell you that I've divided this video into 3 parts, and after watching this video, you might need to watch a video on emotion control. In this video, we'll learn about manipulation and emotion control, as well as how to control and bring out the dark shadow hidden within us. First, we'll understand the core mechanism, how this mental hack turns emotional chaos into calm control. No useless talk, just precise understanding. Second, we'll learn the dangers of this path. When clarity turns into coldness, when control becomes merciless, then what happens? Third, we'll master balance. How to remain strategic without losing your soul, how to lead silently without hollowing yourself out. I'd already made the first part of this, the link to which you'll find in the description. So, step carefully in the video, because your existence might break in this video. Why not start from the beginning? In a corner of your mind, everything you've denied, rejected, suppressed is hidden. Jealousy, anger, selfishness, cunning, that cannibalistic form, all are present there. Psychologists call it the shadow. But be careful, this isn't a scary story, it's a real psychological mechanism, and ignoring it doesn't end it but makes it more powerful and cunning. You were taught to smile when you wanted to scream, to say, "I'm fine," when you were breaking. Even when you were sure you were right, you agreed with others. Every time you suppressed your true feelings, you fed your shadow more. But here comes the real twist. The shadow isn't bad, it's just honest. It holds your raw, unfiltered truth, the part you've hidden from the world and perhaps even from yourself, the part within you that refuses to bow down to anyone. When you embrace it, when you stop running from your darkness, you become whole, authentic, and dangerous. Now listen, how does this brain hack work? Your subconscious mind isn't a sluggish background process, it's a living intelligence. Every moment, it's scanning, filtering, storing, and most of all, it collects rules. Who to be, who not to be, which emotions to show, which to hide, which qualities will bring love, and which will bring punishment. But you didn't write these rules. They were downloaded into you from childhood trauma, society, and rejection. And what's the biggest trap? Your subconscious doesn't ask if this rule is true or not, it just asks, will this keep me safe? If you were shamed for crying, you locked your sorrow inside. If you were punished for anger, you hid your anger behind a fake smile. If you were called arrogant for showing confidence, you slowed yourself down. Slowly, unknowingly, you edited yourself so much that the real you became a fragile, broken version. Shadow integration isn't mere reprogramming, it's an internal revolution. It doesn't remake your mind, it uncovers the hidden script you were unknowingly following and burns it to ashes. It confronts you with 3 uncomfortable truths that your mind always tries to escape. From childhood, you've been trained to show only your good image, patient, humble, loving. But the truth is, you're not just light, you're also your hunger, your anger, your ego, your arrogance, that wild, raw part that refuses to bow for applause. And listen, that dark part isn't bad, it's true. Turning away from your darkness doesn't make you pious, it makes you hollow, because any part you deny yourself starts controlling you from the background. But when you embrace it, when you stop pretending to be light, then you become whole, and from this wholeness begins true power. Now think, why do some people bother you in strange ways? Why do some habits in others create so much hatred? It's very simple, your shadow recognizes them. You hate liars because somewhere, you also lie to maintain peace. When you hate a narcissist, that hatred actually arises because you were never taught to openly love yourself. When you get annoyed by an arrogant person, that pain arises because for years you've suppressed your own brilliance. What triggers you isn't just about them. It's a signal, a mirror in which your shadow is saying, look closely, this is also you. This is where the most uncomfortable journey of integration begins. It forces you to abandon the pretense of morality and look within yourself, because often, our judgment is just a projection. We deny things in ourselves and then hate seeing them in others. Until you accept your own pieces seen in others, you won't regain your full power. Perfection is fragile. It's a game of hiding flaws, a pretense of being good, a hunger for applause. But wholeness doesn't care who's applauding. It's dirty, raw, scattered, but real. And being real is where true power originates. When you're stuck in the pursuit of perfection, you constantly cut off parts of yourself. You silence your anger, edit your truth, bend yourself to please others. But this isn't strength, it's surrender. The moment you stop cutting off your pieces to fit into others' expectations, that's the moment you stop being weak, because now you're not afraid of being seen. You've already faced your inner demons, and now they work for you. This is where true influence begins, this is where confidence is born. When people see you and feel something they can't put into words, they're not complimenting your mask, they're feeling the power of your integration. Shadow integration isn't feel-good therapy, it's psychological combat. You're not healing yourself to feel good, you're integrating yourself to become invincible. This isn't a comfortable bubble bath or a positive vibes process, it's bloody, it's ruthless, and it will change you forever if you're ready to confront those parts of yourself that you've been running from until now. Think about someone you can't stand, someone whose sight makes your jaw clench, your chest tighten, your thoughts run wild. Now ask yourself, what triggers you so much? Their arrogance, their cunning, their cowardice, their selfishness, their emotional coldness. Stop. Let that feeling rise. Don't justify it. Don't intellectualize it. Just feel it. Now, don't just feel that emotion, look at it. And now ask the question that was forbidden to ask. Where's this quality hidden within me? Not just on the surface, nor in those obvious ways, but quietly, slowly, somewhere deep in your shadows. Perhaps you don't overtly manipulate anyone, but have you ever twisted your words for fear of losing someone? Perhaps you don't appear arrogant from the outside, but inside, does the belief somewhere fester that you're better than others, and from that same thought, do you also hate yourself? Perhaps you don't appear cowardly, but how many times did your soul scream to say something, and yet you remained silent? All this is because you're not bad, you're human. Your shadow always appears through projection. The part you reject in yourself is what you see in others and become obsessive about. Until you recognize this, your triggers will continue to control you, keep you weak, reactive, emotional, and controllable. But as soon as you see this projection, the curtain falls, and the game begins to change. This is where most people back off, because now the issue isn't about them. Now the issue is about you. This is where ego dies and power is born. Look in the mirror and call what you see by its true name, not some beautiful, clean, decorated name, not some socially acceptable label. Tell the raw truth. If it's control, don't call it leadership. If it's fear, don't call it peace. If you're destroying yourself, don't call it humility. If it's manipulation, don't make excuses by calling it caring. Name your shadow, not to shame it, but to claim it. It can be anyone. A dictator, a tempter, a coward, a parasite, an addict, a cleaner, a liar, a wandering spirit, a hunter, whatever it is, call it by its true name, because clarity is the beginning of control. What you don't name, you can't change, and what you don't make your own will continue to control you from the background. If you keep fearing the name, it will keep hijacking your life from the darkness. If you had buried your manipulative side, perhaps now is the time to learn how to ethically influence others instead of silently dancing to their tunes, because what is true manipulation? Strategy and emotion, and when combined with truth, it becomes effective leadership. If you've suppressed your selfishness all your life, perhaps now is the time to ask, what if I prioritize myself for the first time? Not with cruelty, but with freedom, because sacrifice is a slow death, and honestly, no one applauds silently bleeding. This is the real turning point. Now you're not reacting out of fear of your shadow, now you're not running from it, now you're training it. Now you're not letting the demon within you roam free in the jungle, but you're also not caging it to starve. You've put a leash on it and whispered gently in its ear, now this demon will follow my rules. This is integration. This is maturity. This is where chaos becomes control, where darkness becomes direction. You don't destroy your shadow, you don't purify it, you reclaim it. You stop pretending to be light and choose wholeness, because remember, no one fears a perfect person, but everyone respects the person who has traveled through their darkness and returned, armed. Now you've seen cracks in the fake mask. You've felt a change within yourself, and if you're still listening, you're not just curious, you're ready to defeat the world with thought. But be careful, this whisper won't just make you aware, it will also make you ruthless from within. Truly, now you want to be powerful, good. But before moving forward, hear a warning. This path isn't a new trend, nor a personality upgrade. It's a deep psychological battle with your own inner demons, because the moment you unleash your shadow, That moment you awaken a power that doesn't care about good intentions, that doesn't follow rules, that can destroy you from within if not managed. Here's the real danger. If you awaken the shadow but without discipline, without self-awareness, without a strict code of conduct, you won't become the master of darkness, you'll become its slave, because power without control isn't power, it's corruption. Now there's a turning point. One path leads to freedom, the other to self-deception. And sadly, most people think they're on the first path, when in reality, they've slipped halfway onto the second. Why? Because they mistake awareness for integration. They read some books, do a little journaling, recognize their toxic traits, maybe even talk about them, and then stop, thinking the work is done. But in reality, they've just awakened the dragon without putting on a bridle. When the shadow doesn't integrate, it doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't explode, it quietly seeps. How? By disguising passive aggression as kindness. You smile, nod, say, no problem, but burn inside. Then that anger seeps out in taunts, guilt-tripping, silent punishments. Envy becomes moral superiority. You don't openly say you're jealous. You say, they're fake, superficial, so you don't have to feel your own inadequacy. Control is presented as help. You say, I'm just helping, but you're actually quietly controlling others' decisions to feel safe yourself. Arrogance wears a fake mask of confidence. You speak loudly, make big claims on social media, but when no one's watching, there's just an emptiness echoing inside. This is the reality of an unintegrated shadow. This is the real danger. When you only know yourself enough to be dangerous to others but remain ignorant of yourself. Then you don't become a natural force, you become a walking paradox. You wear the mask of growth but rot from within. You can see them everywhere. Those fake healers who impose their unresolved pain on others and call it guidance. Those good boys who practice manipulation hidden behind a curtain of politeness and call it civilization. Those narcissistic spiritual gurus who talk about vibrations and alignment but quietly control others with shame and superiority. They think they've awakened, but in reality, they're possessed not by ghosts but by their own unresolved shadows. Now listen, this is the story of those parts you never embraced, and now they're running your life. This is what happens when the shadow isn't integrated. It becomes a dangerous weapon, uncontrolled and thoughtless, burning others and yourself. The most dangerous part is, you won't even know it's happening, because the shadow doesn't suddenly possess your life like a ghost in a horror movie. It just slowly corrupts your intentions, poisons your clarity, blurs the line between power and perversion, and then one day, you won't even know who you're truly fighting for, yourself or your darkness. So listen in clear words. If you still want to be a good child, want to be called the sweetest in every room, are afraid to bring your true self before the world, then don't do this work, because once the shadow awakens, it doesn't sleep again. What's been seen cannot be unseen. What's been known cannot be forgotten. The truth that has entered the mind eats innocence forever. This warning isn't to scare you, it's to prepare you. If you awaken your darkness but don't embrace it, it will not only burn others but will turn you to ashes from within. Your relationships will break, your desires will rot from the inside, your identity will shatter. Your inner world will feel like a lie. You'll say the right things, but your actions will scream denial. You'll talk about healing but vomit your wounds on others, on those who love you the most. The shadow isn't your enemy, but it's an uncontrolled fire. Either it will become your strength, or your poison. The choice is yours. Now the next step. Ask again, if I consciously use this trait, how can it become my strength? For example, if 4 people annoy you, perhaps you've suppressed your ability to influence. Perhaps you always believed in fair play while others outmaneuvered you. Now think, what if I learn the art of influence? Not for lies, but to protect myself, to realize my intentions, to turn situations in my favor. This is your shadow map, not an emotional diary, it's your blueprint for power. You'll start seeing patterns. You'll understand that the people who annoy you the most are the very parts you were never allowed to live. And once you see this, you'll stop judging, you'll start training. Now create a scenario where your shadow usually gets triggered. Being disrespected, rejected, publicly challenged, ignored. Normally, you either lash out or silently shrink. Now imagine that version of you who has mastered their darkness. They don't scream, they don't beg, they don't explain, they don't fight for approval. They just look into the eyes, speak little, neither bend nor waver. Imagine this version every day. Burn it into your nervous system every day, because repetition rewires response. When the real moment comes, you won't react, You won't run, you'll respond like a weapon. Your inner mantra. I allow this part, but I command it. Be aware, people usually make two types of mistakes. Either they completely reject the trait meaning, I'm not angry, I'm not jealous, I'm not cunning, lies, and lies make you weak, or they drown in the trait, I'm like this, I can't change, excuses, and excuses make you careless. But mastery lies in between. It speaks like this. I allow my anger, but I direct it in the right direction. I recognize my skill of influencing, but I use it wisely, not out of frustration. I accept my hunger for power, but I allow it honestly, not by snatching. This is the voice of a trained mind. This is a psychologically mature human being, one who knows their darkness and doesn't fear it. And true power is earned like this, not through easy paths, but through inner warfare. Listen, the people who win in this world aren't always the best, they're not always the most righteous. But they are those who returned from their journey through hell, without asking for forgiveness. They stopped trying to be good, they vowed to be whole.